Time now for this week's Goofy Award. Now, the big talk was really flying around this week with Prime Minister Carney talking about the possibility of putting troops on the ground in Ukraine after the conflict is over and there's a ceasefire. And 2 days later, he talked about recommitting to leading the NATO mission in Latvia. Latvia? Really? Where the Canadian troops had to purchase their own essential gear, like modern helmets, hearing protection, rain gear, tactical vests, being supplied equipment that was outdated and inadequate after 10 years of Liberal government underfunding the military. And before that, too, along with serious questions about the procurement in the Department of Defense. You know, the Canadian Battle Group Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jesse Van Eyck, described the situation as verging on embarrassing. Current and former Canadian Armed Forces members have posted that troops in Poland went reimbursed for meals they were forced to buy. Now, an exclamation mark, by the way, is put on these stories by the 2023 Auditor General's report entitled Evaluation of Ready Land Forces. It found that 35% of armed force members report lacking essential personal gear needed for their operations. And now the Prime Minister says Canada could send troops to Ukraine after a ceasefire, but as many military analysts point out, it's not going to happen in any meaningful way. As Christian Leprecht, a professor of Queen's University Royal Military College of Canada, says, we're not fooling anyone, stating in quotes, Canada has spent a decade making many performative announcements that are not being taken seriously by our allies. All of our allies know that Canadian armed forces are stretched exceptionally thin after 2 decades of undercapitalization, underfunding, and understaffing. Stephen Saidman, he's the Patterson Chair of International Affairs at Carleton, points out that the practical reality, in quotes, the key math involved in all of this is that every time you have troops in the field, you have to have the same number of troops recovering from that mission and the same number of troops being ready to go. So if you have 1,600 troops in Latvia, actually there's 2,000, we actually need 3,200 troops in Canada, both coming and going. And so if we did that and something similar in Ukraine, we'd run out of troops very, very quickly. You know, it seems like a heck of a lot of Canadians are living in the past when it comes to Canada's military, and especially in things like peacekeeping missions. This is not 1982, where Canada had 3,300 Canadian Armed Forces personnel deployed under UN command in over a dozen missions around the world. No, that time has passed. Do you know how many we have in peacekeeping missions today? 59 uniformed peacekeepers deployed across the world, and God bless them for doing it. But this is not the serious power stuff, despite what Prime Minister Carney would have us believe.